Hey, this is Eric, and this video is a recorded interview I did with Andy Russell for Google's Anywhere School 2022. Andy is a product manager for Chromebooks in Education, and in this interview he talks about two awesome new releases for schools, including Google Screencast and Cast Moderator. Now, in addition to this interview, I also created a short tutorial video where I do a hands-on demonstration of the new Google Screencast tool. If you'd like to watch that demonstration video, you can find the link to that in the description below. Now, on with the interview. All right, and now I am so excited to be joined by Andy Russell from Google to talk about some more details related to the new screencasting tool and the Cast Moderator. So, Andy, thank you so much, first of all, for being here with me. I really appreciate that. If you want to take a moment and introduce yourself and let folks know a little bit about you and what you do there for Google.
You bet. Hi, Eric. Thanks so much, first of all, for having me on. We're really excited about these launches. My name is Andy Russell. I'm the Group Product Manager for Education on the Chrome OS team here at Google.
That is awesome. Well, again, thanks for giving us a little bit more detail and info on these awesome new announcements related to the Anywhere School 2022. First off, let's start by talking about the Screencast tool that is coming to Chrome OS. For those who are familiar with Chromebooks, we've had a screen capture tool for quite a while, and it keeps getting better all the time as well. So with that tool, we've been able to click the screen capture button and either take a picture or a video of either our whole screen or a portion of the screen. And with the screen recording option with video, we can even include our voice in there. That's been fantastic. Love that tool. This goes further than that, though. This new Screencast tool tells a little bit about what makes this different than what we've seen in the past with screen capture on a Chromebook.
Yeah, so we released the screen capture tool last year. It's been a wonderful tool for all of our Chrome OS users, but especially for teachers over the course of the last year or so. Screen capture tools is definitely designed for short form content. So as you said, you grab a quick screen grab, a picture of your screen at any time, or you can record a quick animation or a really quick little demo, and it's going to render and record and save a video to your local disk that you can then upload and share inside of a slide deck or on Google Drive or something like that. The Screencast app that we are launching now is a step past. It takes a lot of that same functionality of screen capture, but wraps some really important features that make it a wonderful tool for long form video creation. So the Screencast app allows you to record yourself in the webcam alongside of your screen. It allows you to pull out your stylus and annotate your screen in real time, mark it up John Madden style as you're teaching. It also records a transcript of your lesson as you are recording. We can touch on that a little bit later. And then saves everything automatically up to Google Drive, so that when you're done with your recording, it is actually ready to copy a link and share it with your students, or if you're a student recording a video with your teacher as well, instantly without having to upload it or render it or anything like that.
Oh, that is fantastic. So with this tool, we've mentioned teachers, but we've also said students. So this is something that is geared to both teachers and students. Really, anybody who's using the Chromebook could use this tool to record themselves. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We see it as a really natural, almost extemporaneous way to record video. This is a generation of students that are growing up in TikTok, that are growing up ready to be casual creators. And we want to give them a tool that's really easy and really natural for them to be able to explain themselves, to be able to share their ideas, and to spend as much time as possible on capturing and creating those ideas, and as little as time as possible in editing and post-production of content, to make it really easy for them to create, capture, and share them.
I love that. That is so good. Let technology do what it does best so that we as educators and students can do what we do best. So we can be creative and share our ideas and let technology take care of all the other stuff on the back end there. Um,
The term, sorry to interrupt you, Eric, the
no,
term we use internally a lot is megaphones, right? You know,
yeah.
create tools that enable both educators and students to shout their ideas from the rooftop, share them with others, and do so in a really sort of natural and painless way.
Absolutely. And that is so important to be able to put ourselves into the stuff we're creating. It's great to have that as an option for so many reasons for a student to be able to explain their understanding, and it's their own voice, it's their own face. They're the one, it's not just something they're typing up, but they're putting themselves into it. I think an offshoot of this, something this could benefit, would be concerns about academic integrity. Sometimes that comes up in a digital environment where people say, well, if it's just a Google Doc, they could just copy off of somebody else's. And, there's ways we can look into stuff like that. But there's concerns about, is this really the student's work? Well, I used to be a math teacher, taught 7 years of math. And when I think about, okay, let's say I'm teaching two-step equations. I could have a situation where it's, okay, here's this worksheet where you got to do 22-step equations. That's fine, but when you give me your worksheet, all I'm seeing is the final answer there, and maybe you've copied it from somewhere else. I don't know if you're making mistakes. I don't know why. I'd rather just say, here you go. Do 2 equations rather than 20, but record yourself while you're doing it. Pull up Jamboard, or pull up Cursive, or pull up Chrome Canvas. Pull up any one of those and just do the problems and talk me through step by step as you work these out. If it's wrong, we'll see where things went wrong. And if it's right, I don't need you to do 18 more of them to prove to me
Yeah,
that you understand this concept. Now, that's
yeah.
just an example in math, but it could apply to anything. Having students be able to put themselves right into it gives us as educators a much better understanding of their understanding.
Yeah, my math teacher hammered me on show your work, show your work, show your work. They don't want to see the end product. They want to see how you got there. And I think that extends well beyond mathematics, right? Every educator wants to see not just the conclusion that the student has arrived to, but how they got there, right? The journey is as important as the destination.
Absolutely. Well, that is great. I'm so excited about that. If it stopped there, that would be amazing in itself. But as you mentioned, there are some other neat things with the tool, including the transcript that gets
Yeah, let's talk
automatically
about it.
generated. So while we are recording, our screen, and we've got a little circle there with our webcam in it, we're recording all that. So we got our voice and our face and our screen, and it's right there to drive, and it's easy to share. That's wonderful. It's also using all of Google's powerful AI to be able to do speech to text and generate a transcript that goes along with it. Now, tell me a little bit more about this transcript. I understand it from what I've seen as I played with it. It's actually sort of an interactive transcript when it comes to playing back the video as well.
Yeah, so the transcript is really powerful, and we see it as really differentiator for teachers. It is using, as you said, Google's on-device speech-to-text transcription tool to render a transcript as you are recording in real time. And then when you're done, that transcript is ready for you with the video. And it does a couple of things for us. First, it allows you to skim a recording really quickly and easily, and then be able to navigate to a point in the video directly. So today, let's say I was on YouTube and I wanted to watch a 30-minute recording, and I had a question, and the answer to that question is embedded maybe 25 minutes into the recording or something like that. Maybe I'm putting that video in like 1.5 speed or 2x speed. Maybe I'm scrubbing it to try to remember when in the video the educator might have been talking about the thing that I was interested in. But you have to spend a lot of time finding the answer to that question. With a transcript, you can skim the recording really quickly, and then you can click the passage in the transcript. It's actually going to jump straight to that point in the video. You can also search the transcript. So let's say, I'm in chemistry class or something like that, and or biology class, and I type in the word nucleus. And I can jump straight to the point in the video where the teacher referenced the nucleus in their instruction. I think being able to the agency that provides for you, right? The autonomy as a learner, where I can navigate a recording and go back and forth at my own pace and rewatch things very easily. not by just using a simple linear scrubber, but being able to see the whole recording and jump around is really powerful. The second thing that Transcript allows us to do is to actually trim our recordings as creators very easily. So when we talk to teachers about the role of screencasting in the classroom, and that has grown tremendously over the course of the last couple of years, the thing that they always tell us is that capturing and recording their lessons is actually the easy part. It is the editing and the re-rendering and the uploading and all of the other things that come along with the capture of the screencast that's actually very time consuming. And they want to create more and more screencasts for their classroom. They see it as an extremely valuable tool for their students and a powerful way for them to extend their teaching. But they're limited by how much time it takes them after school to do the post-production. So with a transcript, what you can do is you can go through your recording and you can identify a part that maybe you want to skip over, maybe you didn't do as well, or maybe it's not as pertinent to the question the student might have. And you can simply, click the button and then click skip section. And then we're going to automatically trim the transcript as well as the video down so that it removes that portion of the recording. So our goal here is to make it really, really easy and fast for teachers to be able to fine tune and condense, to tighten their screencasts and send those off to students as quickly as possible after school for their viewing at home. And then the third thing that the transcript allows us to do is to be able to translate. So there are a whole lot of students who are not necessarily using the same native language as the teacher in class. And so maybe you are a English-speaking teacher in the classroom and you're recording a lesson, and then you send it home. The student can watch that video with your voice, but they can also translate the transcript to their native language or maybe their parents' native language so that they can follow along more closely. So it's a really powerful tool for a whole lot of teachers out there and students from diverse backgrounds.
Oh, that is fantastic. It really is. I love seeing different technologies that Google has developed and perfected over time. Speech to text being one that has come light years from where it was, 10 years ago, when people were doing the funny YouTube videos where they would upload a video and then let it transcribe it. Then they would redo the video with that as the new, the new script. And now you can't do that anymore because it's too good. The transcription is so good. I love taking these different tools and bringing them together, into this particular tool and leveraging the power of the transcript there. And yes, you're right. It takes a lot of time to edit. Anybody who does video editing, you watch a 5-minute video, there's 5 hours that are behind that probably, as far as all the stuff that went into making it happen. So again, let technology do what it does best, so we as educators can do what we do best, which is connecting with students and understanding where they're at and explaining concepts and being creative. And that's fantastic. Couple of quick.
Eric, I'll throw out one more.
Go ahead, please.
To your point of, by reducing the amount of time necessary to produce all of this stuff, it enables us to connect to students more directly, of course. The other thing it allows us to do is to effectively fork ourselves as teachers, right? We all know that there are different students in the class have different learning styles, right? Some kids are very visual learners, right? Some kids learn things through mnemonics, right? I learned the Great Lakes through Holmes, and I learned orders of operation through Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally, right?
Oh yes, I taught it many times.
And we all as educators have different tricks for different types of students who may be struggling with a different thing. With a tool like Screencast, you can sort of custom tailor a library of instructional materials for those specific students. And you say, I have a student that really grasps things when I teach them very visually. And you can spend 15 minutes teaching a concept in a very visual manner, right? Or you can focus on Holmes, or you can focus on Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally to really communicate that idea. And you can sort of customize a piece of instructional content and use that year after year after year. Like as teachers, we all have our bag of tricks that we develop in our early years as teachers, and then we roll them out over the course of the year, whether it's worksheets or whether it's pre-planned lessons, that sort of thing. That first year of teaching is so hard because you don't have all of those tools, and then every year it gets a little bit easier. with a tool like Screencast, you can start to develop those little tricks, those little snippets or vignettes for every student in your class, or at least every style of student in your class, and build this library over time, and then reuse those assets. And so instead of having to teach the common denominator lesson plan every single year, the lesson plan that resonates with most students in your class, you can teach that common denominator, and you can supplement it with the instructional videos that really speak to those children's needs. And not only that, you can actually share those videos with other educators. So if there's a teacher down the hall who really does order of operations particularly well, you can borrow his or her instructional video and share it with your students, or a teacher across the country or around the world. By simplifying the act of recording lessons, you are able to build a corpus of content that is going to be a lot more flexible going forward.
Absolutely. I love that so much. And you're right. I mean, there probably are a lot of folks who feel a little intimidated by recording videos, and to, take that away. It's kind of like, I would reckon it to Google Sites, and how easy it is to build a website that's gorgeous looking, and it's just so intuitive now. And I remember my first website coding it in HTML and a text
Yeah.
editor. We've come so far, with video editing now as well, being able to have, any educator or student feel comfortable and confident to be able to do this. And yeah, absolutely, your point is very well taken. It pulls in some of the ideas from flipped instruction and other things, where it's like, okay, here's this video content. I've done it once and I've done it really well, and maybe I've done it in a couple of different styles to explain it in a few different ways, and now that can be used and reused, maybe for a student who needs to hear it a second time,
Yep.
maybe for a student who needs enrichment. And so maybe it's something that's from the other class you teach, but it's a great enrichment activity to pull in for this student who wants to go a little bit deeper into that topic. And again, like you said, it's all in Drive, so we can share amongst ourselves. And that's fantastic. I love it. Couple of quick thoughts on the transcript. So I have been playing with the tool, and it is certainly possible that some things are going to continue to develop. They always do. It's a moving target. Nothing's ever finished. It's just, this is the current version of it. So will there be any option to control those sections in the transcript? Because as it is right now, it seems like it's listening to me speaking, it's creating a transcript, and it's creating sections by some algorithm. It's figuring out where to break these sections. Well, if we're going to go back in and say, oh, I want to trim out that sentence, or I want a student to be able to just, focus on this part, in my opinion, the shorter those sections are, the better, because it gives me more granularity to go in and take out that sentence. I noticed some of the sections were pretty short. Some were up to a minute in length. Any comment on how that's evolving, or what we should expect as far as those sections in the transcript go?
Yeah, so thank you so much for testing this out, taking it for a spin. I've experienced the same thing. Your feedback is extremely valid. And your note earlier that things are constantly evolving, 100% true, right? We release a new version of the operating system every month. We're constantly fine-tuning these things and adding new features as well. So this is one of the things that we are working on going forward. The granularity of the sections today are actually defined by sort of the breaks in your speech. So when I continue to talk like this, even if it comes to an end of a sentence or I throw in some punctuation, it's going to consider that to be one section. But if I were to pause, then we interpret that as a paragraph break, and we're going to create a new section for you. So pauses are extremely valuable. That'll really help you to break things up. But going forward, we are looking at additional tools.
Well, you're not telling me something that anybody I've ever dated hasn't told me as well. I need to, I need to pause now and then and stop talking so much. So thanks for just reminding me of that. But so apparently the Screencast tool feels the same way.
It'll coach you a little bit, right?
That's good to know. It'll make me a better person as well. That's fantastic. Last thing I'll say about the transcript thing is, just as a thought for maybe a feature to come, what would be really cool would be to have an option for the student to click a button at the top of the transcript that spits out a Google document that has like two columns with the transcript in one column and a notes section in the other column, so they can take their own annotated notes next to the transcript as they're watching the video. So could be a
I love
cool
that.
thing. Yeah,
Great
awesome.
suggestion. Thanks.
Well, as we wrap up this discussion about Screencast, we're going to talk about another tool, but just for clarification, so everybody's on the same page here, at the moment, this tool does run within the Chrome operating system. So
Yeah.
if I understand that correct, for a teacher to record, for a student to record, for a teacher to watch the student's work, a student to watch their work, this is going to be happening on a Chrome operating system device, so a Chromebook, a Chromebox, something like that. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, so Screencast is a system web app that's built into Chrome OS for all Chrome OS users to be able to create as well as view recordings.
Right. So if there's a school that has greatly embraced Chromebooks and the students all have them, but maybe the teachers are still using a Windows device or a Mac device, the teachers is going to need to grab a Chromebook and log in to do their recordings as opposed to within the Chrome browser on a Windows-based machine. It will be happening on a Chromebook, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So Screencast uses our built-in screen capture API, the same tool that Screen Capture uses, and it also uses our built-in speech-to-text tools. So it leverages unique capabilities of our Chrome OS operating system that we don't have on other operating systems.
Right. Well, I appreciate that clarification because people are going to get excited about this. I want to make sure they have the most success possible grabbing the right device. And the beauty of this is Chromebooks have come a long, long way. So you can grab a student's Chrome device and you can record this, but you might want to take a look at the Chromebook Discovery page that Google has out there and see all of the amazing new teacher-oriented Chromebooks. I recently purchased one for myself and am absolutely loving the screen size and the extra memory and the powerful processor. And so there are a lot of amazing options for Chromebooks for educators and not just for students. That is great. Well, hey, let's chat about the other big tool that is coming out with this rollout, and that is something called Cast Moderator. For a little bit of background on this, the concept is, as a teacher, sometimes we want to be able to easily put our screen up onto a larger screen. And you may say, well, you probably have your computer plugged into a projector. Well, that's no problem, but sometimes not. Sometimes you're walking around the classroom and you've got your device in your hand and you want to be able to, boom, get it up on the screen. Or we want our students to do the same. So a student has a neat website they've come across. They've got a presentation they want to show. They've got something that they have, created in Jamboard and they want to show how they solve that problem. For them to be able to get their screen up on the front on a through a projector or on a big display for the whole class to see has been something that we've played around with for several years. We've had some options. There was Google Cast for Education, which was an app was discontinued back in 2020 that gave us some options along that line. There's also just the regular consumer product, the Chromecast device, which I have several in my house. And although those aren't designed for a school setting, many schools, we've brought them in and we've attached them to projectors and TVs, and we've tried to find a way to make them work. We now have a new option coming out with Cast Moderator, device and app related. Tell us a little bit about what this is and what makes it different from solutions that we poked a stick at in the past and tried before.
Yeah, well, so before we get into the details of Cast Moderator, I wanted to connect the dots a little bit between the two projects and build on a little bit of what you've been talking about. We saw these three trends really picking up the height of remote learning during the pandemic and as well as returning back to the classroom that we really wanted to invest in. The first is schools making a massive shift towards one-to-one, one device for every student, especially in the US and other markets internationally. And what this does is it just really increases access to devices for the students, both in school and at home. And with that, a whole lot of students, instead of returning their Chromebooks back to the cart at the end of class, they're putting them in their backpack. So they can take them to study hall, they can use them for free time. They can take them home for homework. And most importantly, they're going to have access to those devices in every class. And so the teachers can really bank on their students having those devices ready for them. And so they can really incorporate these digital learning tools into their curriculum. They can be rest assured that their students are going to have access to the tools at any time. The second trend that we saw was, quite frankly, teachers pre-pandemic, pre-remote learning, they use their devices for a lot of preparation, right? They created worksheets, which they would send to the printer and then print out and hand out to the students to do in class. They graded papers. They submitted report cards, in-school communication. But not many teachers were actively using their devices. I say not many. There were certainly a small group of teachers who were actively using their devices in class, but it was the exception to the rule. And then with remote learning, we saw this tremendous shift where teachers had to build a new muscle, right? They had to teach off of their computers. They had to use their computer as the primary teaching surface. And as we've returned back to the classroom in the last year, a lot of those teachers have come back saying like, hey, I discovered some really great teaching practices here, right? And I really like using this computer screen and using these digital learning tools in real time in the classroom. But being tethered to the class with an HDMI cord or being tethered to the desk or the front of the room with an HDMI cord was really problematic. And then the third trend that we just saw balloon over the course of the last couple of years has been the use of video, both asynchronously and synchronously in the classroom. So teachers creating screencasts, teachers using videos off of YouTube and other platforms and sending those home with students. And then also, teachers using videos for examples and demos and things like that in the classroom in real time. And so we saw these three trends together and we said, hey, we really need to invest in this space. We need to make it easier for teachers to be able to create and share content at scale. And everything that we do at Google is all about doing it at scale, doing it for millions and millions and doing it so frequently. And we also need to make it really, really easy for teachers to be able to use these devices as a teaching surface. Because the feedback that we got from the teachers as they return back to the classroom is that having, a lightweight convertible device that I can, fold over and, put into my nook of my arm and pull out a stylus and be able to use this as a remote control for the classroom and a wireless whiteboard for the classroom, it's really powerful. So yes, we built this new class of educator Chromebooks. They have really bright, nice resolution screens. They're lightning fast for getting through your daily workflow. And now with this new feature of Cast Moderator, they allow you to be able to wirelessly cast from your Chromebook to your classroom display, whether it's a projector or a TV display or even a smartboard. And yes, it's not just for teachers, it's for students as well. We've long invested in collaboration as sort of like the core thesis of Google Workspace and our other first-party Google applications. But students being able to cast their screens, being able to show their entire screen in real time in the class, that's always been a challenge. And we've tried a couple of different things in the past that haven't scaled as well as we wanted them to. And Cast Moderator, we're really excited about because it is a really simple way for both educators and students to be able to display their screens in real time and collaborate with other students in the class, whether it's through group projects or giving a presentation or just showing your work as you go. It provides a really seamless interchange between teacher as educator and presenter to student as participant. And really involves them in the class and in the teaching process in a way that previously wasn't possible.
I love that philosophy. I love how you're looking at, let's not just think, okay, a classroom is a teacher's desk at the front of the room with a computer that is connected to an HDMI cable to a projector, and that's it. You're tethered. You now have to work within those confines. I love that idea of saying, no. Anywhere you go in the room is fine, and you're right. I love my Chromebook. I love that it can flip over and it's touch screen, and exactly the idea of being able to walk around the room and be using that while you're writing, and not be tethered to your desk. So I played with Cast Moderator as well. Got a chance to test this out, and I will tell you, it is slick. I'm really, really excited about the way you guys have thought through what's going to be the best way to make this easy easy, but also secure at the same time in a school environment. And so, correct me if I'm wrong on any of these details, but my understanding is the pieces involved in this is an actual device, so sort of like, a Chromecast, but type of device. So that's what's attached to your projector. That's what's attached to your flat panel TV. That's what's attached to whatever the display is. And then there's the app, the Cast Moderator app itself. And when that app comes up, it's really simple. Basically, it puts a 6-digit code on the screen. It says, okay, if you want to put what's on your screen up on this screen, you need to cast to this device with this code. And so basically on the Chromebook, I can very easily find the cast button. If I go down to my system tray and pull that up, my system menu, I've got the cast icon there. If I'm on a web page, I look in the top right-hand corner of Chrome, there's a cast icon up there. If I'm playing a YouTube video, there's a cast icon in the bottom right corner of that YouTube video. So anywhere that I need to show something, I can click that cast button and say I want to cast using a code, type in those 6 numbers, and boom, my screen is now up on the big screen. And what's nice about that is I have to be there. I have to be in that room. I have to know that code, to be able to cast to it and be on the same Wi-Fi that Wi-Fi network. So all these things, because we're already thinking about, how can something be abused? It's a continuum. You're trying to find ease of use with security, and you got to find a happy balance point in there where we address all those. And this is nice. It's great in the fact that all I need to do is type in 6 numbers for that code. Boom, I'm now casting to the screen. As simple as that. Nothing needs to get installed. We don't have to worry about any weird kind of configurations. As long as your tech admins set this up on the back end, you're good to go. Does that sound pretty accurate for how the system is set up to function?
Yeah, and thanks for taking this for a spin. I'm glad it's been a positive experience for you. There are 2 things that I think that are important to clarify. One is, in addition to restricting access to users who can see the code, we also give the teacher a remote control. So they can enable or disable student casting at any time. And if ever there's a challenge, you just hit the back button and you can back out of any cast. And then the second is the code entry is for the students to be able to connect to the device. As a teacher, your Chromebook will have a special policy that says, hey, you can connect to this device anytime. So you don't have to enter in the code every single time. You get that special privilege.
That's fantastic. I love that idea about having that remote as an easy way to very quickly turn off casting if you're safe. For right now, we're not doing that, but also, like you said, to back out, because right, I could see a student putting in the code, connecting, and not letting go. Like, well, I'm just going to keep casting. It's like, well, you need to let go. You're not, okay, boom, back button, and that's it. Time for somebody else. And for the fact that the teacher doesn't have to type in a code. Again, great. I love how you've thought about all of these use cases and what's going to make it the easiest thing. Again, let technology do its thing and get out of the way so that we can do what we need to do. I love that. And the code, from what I've noticed, looks like it's a 2-minute refresh on that as well. Does that sound right? When I was watching it, it would give that 6-digit code, and then every 2 minutes it would start to like change colors and let you know it was about to change, and then it would refresh. Is there any talk about other options for younger students? I don't know, like to go in and reduce it to a 3-digit code, or to have it be a QR code, or I'm not sure. I was just curious if there's been any thoughts about, with some of the younger students, 6 digits, probably still good for them, but wasn't sure.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's certainly something we've talked about a great deal. So we started with a 6-character code and have been doing a lot of testing in the classroom. So far, the feedback has been really positive. We're actually launching an early access program this summer that's going to cast a broader net to get more feedback from teachers, and that's one of the things that we're keeping an ear out for. The code, you asked about the refresh time. We do indeed refresh the code every 2 minutes. We also refresh the code every time that a student casts or a teacher casts. So there's no way to interrupt a student as he or she is teaching, or sorry, he or she is presenting their screen, because once they have used the code, we effectively refresh that. And then once they've backed out of the cast, then we generate a new one. We also refresh the code every time the teacher turns the casting on and off, or the access code on and off. Yeah, you're going through a bunch of those access codes quite frequently.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, this is, as we talked about earlier, a very much an iterative process, like all good things. We're going to start the early access program this summer, and we're looking forward to more feedback from educators about what's going to make things really easy for students of all ages, but also really fast to connect. Things like QR codes and other options are certainly things we've discussed.
Well, just like with the Screencast tool, same thing's true with this. It can be great for teachers, and I think we're seeing use cases all around where this can make a teacher's life so much easier and allow the teacher to be able to function quickly and easily and do what they do best. But just like that other tool, it's also great for students. And I'm really encouraging all the educators out there, absolutely use this to make your life easier as well. But let's use this to empower our students as well. Just like the Screencast tool gives our students a voice and allows them to create and explain. Cast Moderator, it levels the playing field in the classroom. It's no longer just, hey, I'm the teacher, I'm the sage on the stage, and I'm the one, the sole dispenser of knowledge. No, 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 no. We all can share. We all can explain. We all can contribute to the class. And this makes that easy now. Anybody with the code can, boom, throw their device up on the screen, and a student can explain how they solve that problem, or they can tell their story, or they can give their presentation, or they can show this great resource they came across, or whatever it is. Giving students that opportunity, that voice to be a co-learner, co-teacher. I remember when I was at the Google Teacher Academy as an attendee, and then later as one of the people who was helping run it. We were not leaders, we were lead learners. And I love this whole idea that we're all learners together, and we as teachers can learn from our students, and our students can share. So let's embrace both of these tools as educators, but also make sure our students are using them as well in the classroom.
Thanks for saying that, Eric.
Yeah.
That's just a driving principle for us, right? The students need to be participants, if not leaders in their own learning. And the more opportunities we can give them to share their ideas, and as we talked about earlier, how they got there, show their work, then the more engaged we're going to make them, and the greater agency we're going to provide for them in the classroom. So it's really important to us. And the other thing that tools like Cast Moderator allow us to do is unshackle that teacher from the head of the class, right? The one-room schoolhouse of the early 1900s. We hope that model is dead. We're excited about letting teachers roam about the classroom, to connect more personally with their students, to have a feel for what's going on in the classroom without having to snoop over their shoulders all the time, and to be able to engage one-on-one directly with their students. And we're really excited about how this tool can enable the teacher to teach anywhere in the classroom, as well as students to be able to project their own work.
Oh, well, we appreciate it. We appreciate so much that you're constantly listening to educators and their needs and their pain points, but also our students and what's going to help them to learn and succeed and be the best they can be. So thank you so much for everything that Google provides for schools. We really, really appreciate it. Anything that you want to say as we start to wrap up? I know there's a lot of awesome things connected to Anywhere School 2022. We've only mentioned 2 of them. I would encourage people to check out everything that's being announced. But anything else you'd like to share with us as we wrap up here today, Andy?
Well, just touching on what you just said there at the end, Eric. This is an iterative process. The first Chromebooks went into schools about 10 years ago. And at first they were largely used for standardized testing, right? And mostly relegated to carts that would be wheeled into the classroom. And then a bunch of teachers got the really bright idea to start using these devices for workspace applications, and starting to do student research and writing 5-paragraph essays and putting together science reports and things like that. And then as the number of Chromebooks in schools took off, we started to see really robust third-party ecosystem, application ecosystem of other things that you could do on your Chromebooks, from creating podcasts to editing video and 3D modeling and performing science experiments virtually. And the way that these devices are being used, both in classrooms and at home, has just expanded exponentially over the course of the last couple of years, and we've really seen it take off over the last 2 years as schools have gone one-to-one and are sending devices home with students and giving them access to devices in all classes. And we're really excited about that. And we're looking for your feedback as educators, as much as anything, on ways you would like to see us expand the capabilities of these devices, either through applications like Screencast or features like Cast Moderator, and to enable students and yourselves to do more things more often, right? So that these are not just typing and testing machines like they were maybe 8 or 10 years ago, but these are powerful learning tools that you and students have access to at any time and can use for the full gamut of creative experiences. So if I have one ask for your show here today, it's, please let us know, educators, how are you using these devices? How can we improve these devices for you? What kind of features and applications and experiences are you looking for your students to have? Because we're listening and we're building and we're doing it for you.
Well, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us, and I'm excited to continue to dig in to all of these amazing tools. And as educators, you give us something and we're going to look at it from a different angle and find 10 other things we can do with it than you initially thought. So
Keep it
I'm
coming.
excited to see all the amazing things to come. So again, thank you so very much. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Eric.
And for all of my other educational technology resources, be sure to visit my site at controlaltachieve.com and follow me on Twitter and subscribe to this YouTube channel and check out my book, Control Alt Achieve: Rebooting Your Classroom with Creative Google Projects. Thanks so much and take care.